So guys, I hope we are all well, and yeah, going to be live scaling an OnlyFans account for you guys. You get to see kind of the behind the scenes of running an OnlyFans agency and actually scaling up these OnlyFans accounts. So yeah, it's going to be literally just showcasing what we do to scale up these OnlyFans accounts. So if you are looking to start an OnlyFans management agency, or you already have one running, then this is going to be insanely valuable for you guys. So yeah. We've just signed a new model account. This is what the earnings are currently looking like in the top 1.4%, doing around $14,385 and then $18,000 a month gross. So yeah, we're kind of it's a good model account to start working with, as there's a lot of improvement that can be done here. Before we do a deep dive into everything, I'm just going to go ahead and stick in a little upper decker just for the focus. Don't mind me. So, yeah, I use nicotine for focus. If you haven't already figured, it's a good drug. So yeah, we are at this current stage. So we are aiming to get this model up to doing $40,000 a month within the next 3 months. So it's going to be a bit of a push, but it's a very realistic result, and we like to set these sort of realistic results so we can go ahead and exceed the model's expectations. But this is where we're starting at. So the month earnings is down from last month. The subscriptions are down, but just down a bit. $240 in tips, 6.7K in messages. So everything's in the red. This is not good. So yeah, we're gonna have a massive overhaul with this model to sort out everything. Now, I don't personally like focusing on 30-day statistics. I feel like that's a little bit too long. OnlyFans is very fast paced, so a lot can change within a month. So I personally like to do 7-day statistics so we can see how everything's going. So we're going to start working with this model tomorrow in terms of getting the chatters in the account, spinning up the promotional systems, spinning up everything. But this is just little preliminary research that we do before figuring out what to actually change in this model's account. So yeah, we've gone ahead and scraped all the data and we've put it into this nice sheet here. So let me just bring this over for you guys here. There you go. You guys can see that nice and clearly. Yeah, so everything we do is based on data. Lots of people, when scaling OnlyFans accounts, they're just trying to figure out the whole process. They're a little bit confused, a little bit overwhelmed, and we don't like doing that personally. So what we do is we create a brand new spreadsheet, which basically allows us to go ahead and import the creator statistics. So we use a software which downloads those statistics. As you can see, we've done this here. We've gone ahead and we've blurred the creator's actual name. But it imports statistics so we can see everything here, and then it imports over into this weekly tracking, so we can see essentially what needs fixing, what holes do we need to plug, what things do we need to boost to actually change the game for this model and make more money. Yeah, it's already a 7K a month client. Most people will be like, wow, that's crazy, $7,000 a month from one client who have just signed. Well, no, this is OnlyFans. We want to be making 20, 30, 40K a month from this one client alone, and it has a ton of potential. So to give some context, they've got 100,000 followers on Instagram. They've got around about 300,000 followers on Twitter, and this is what the back end of their account looks like. So there's a lot more that they could be doing to make more money, which was our sales pitch for them. So this is the week from the 7th to the 14th of July. The total earnings is $4,210. The message earnings is $2,101. So the message earning percentage is 49.92%. And the reason this is turned red is because it's a red flag. We want to be getting these earnings up to at least 70% of the total earnings. So as a rule of thumb, if your messaging earnings are less than 70%, then there's room for improvement in the back end. Now, we will be giving this model a ton of traffic, but you want to make sure that you're plugging in plugging in the holes in the account first before you give them traffic. So when you're signing like a beginner creator, then at that point you need to just focus on traffic straight away. But when you're focusing on creators who have already got traffic coming in, you need to optimize the account first, and then you bring in the more traffic. So it's like, it's like building a bridge or something. You want to make sure the foundations are in place before you have a bunch of cars going over that bridge. Otherwise, it's all just going to crumble, it's all going to break, and you're all going to be scrambling all over the place, just trying to figure out what the hell went wrong. So yeah, 50%, which isn't the best. That's why it's in red. Tip earnings, $85 this week. Again, pretty poor. So the tip earning percentage and related to total earnings is 2%. Again, it's been highlighted red because we want to have at least 10%, 5 to 10% tip earnings to contribute as the whole earnings. Average spend per fan is 11 pence. The renewal rate is 58.21%. So that means 58% of the fans are renewing. We want to push that up to around about 70% again. We have active fans, 1,474 active subscribers, and the churn rate is 41.79%. So we've got a few red flags here. So red flag number 1 is the message earnings. We're just going to go ahead and fill that out. Message earnings. Red flag number 2 is tip earnings. So we want to go ahead and fix that. Then we have average spend per fan, renewal rate, churn rate. So this is not a healthy account, and we need to get this to being healthy. So ideally, we'd like to see some green here once we go ahead and improve these numbers. And I'll keep you guys updated on the whole process. If that's the sort of content you want to see, kind of behind the scenes of running all this stuff, rather than, talking videos, then yeah, we'll do this. So how do we go about improving this stuff? So we've diagnosed what's wrong using the data that we collected from OnlyFans. We just downloaded that data, imported it into this custom built spreadsheet, and we now know exactly what's wrong and exactly what we need to improve. So I'm just going to go ahead and build it out this. So account red flag solutions. So what sort of stuff are we going to implement to fix what's going wrong in this account? So the first thing we need to fix is the message earnings percentage, as it's very low. So how are we going to go ahead and boost up this message earning percentage? Well, we looked at the account and the model's sending out 1 to 2 pay-per-views per month. So that's not many pay-per-views at all. So there's only like 2 chances a month to bring in pay-per-view sales. Now, obviously, the model's doing chatting and is selling content that way. But if you're not combining the chatting with pay-per-views, you're missing out a lot. Some people like to focus just on the chatting, but you're just missing out on money. You could just send a message and collect a few $1,000s from that one message being fired out, and then you can send that message more often. Now, it does get to a point where you could experience some pay-per-view fatigue. So if you send lots of pay-per-views, you're hammering them with pay-per-views every single day, then you may start to see some negative effects of that. So it's finding the sweet spot. Initially, you want to increase it, then you want to decrease it, and you want to find that sweet spot. So we're going to boost it up to 1 to 2 pay-per-views per day to see, okay, how can we make some more money in this account? The instant way to make more money is by sending out more pay-per-view messages so we can generate more sales. Even in an account like this, if we send out a pay-per-view message and we make, $400, $500, that's still an extra $400, $500 a day that we could be making from sending this out. And even on the lower end, if it's only $200, there's still an extra $200 a day that we could be making from this account, which equals an extra $6K a month, I think. So yeah, 1 to 2 pay-per-views a day is going to help increase the message earnings from 49% up to 70%. Implementing a sales structure as well. So when we're speaking to subscribers, the chatters are going to be trained on this sales structure. This is there's a lot more training to this. I'm just giving you guys a very simple overview. So we warm up, so asking how the day is, building up some emotion, building up an emotional connection with them to show that the model's thinking about them. Then we go ahead and tease them. Some things that multiple people get wrong is the majority of people you're selling to on OnlyFans is guys. And I see people sending out text-based messages all the time. Whereas guys get turned on visually. Women get turned on by text messages, but the vast majority of OnlyFans accounts, there's not many women who are buying content like this. So when you're selling to guys, you want to make sure that you're teasing them with visual content, teasing them playfully, creating a bit of a build up and attention, and then you go ahead and hit them with the sale. And then as soon as you hit them with the sale, you basically upsell them. So you sell the first bit of content for $10, the next bit of content for $20. You need to be quick with this because guys are only horny for a certain amount of time, and you want to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of content that you're selling within that short window, okay? It's not like you can send a message, come back later, send another message, and you're going to just keep on getting sales. It goes in peaks and troughs, so you need to make sure that when the attention they're giving the model is at a peak, that you're making sure you're taking full advantage of that. So those are 2 quick fixes that you can implement here. Now, obviously, there's so much more stuff that we're going to implement within this account around the actual structure of these section sets, around the segmentation of fans. So we're going to talk about a little bit of optimizing pricing. So there's so much you can do. So with the another red flag that we saw was the average spend per fan is 11 pence. So really, really low. And we want to boost this up. So the easiest way to do this is to segment fans based on spending behavior. So you're going to get, in general, 3 categories. You're going to have high spenders, you're going to have medium spenders, and you're going to have low spenders. So with these fans, we just want to have them segmented into 3 different groups here. And then we just want to push up the average spend per group. So let's say if you're targeting it as a whole and you're trying to sell a $50 pay-per-view and you send that out to everyone, then the low spenders aren't going to buy it, the medium spenders aren't going to buy it. All you're going to be left with is some high spenders buying that sort of content. So it's important to segment the fans and then adjust the pricing based on the sort of fans' average typical spend. So on the low spenders, let's say the average price they spend at is anywhere from $3 all the way up to $9, then we want to slowly move up the average spend to $11 to $18 for these low spenders. Now, bear in mind, you will always get the group of people who just join an account and they don't spend at all just because they're curious, they click to join, they have intentions of just leaving straight away, unsubscribing, turning their menu off. That's fine. But for the people who do spend, we want to make sure we're pushing those low spenders numbers up to, from $11 all the way up to $18. And then for the medium spenders, if their typical spend is from $11 to $18, we want to push it up from $22 to $31 to $32. And then high spenders, want to push them up from the lowest $19 to $32 to average of $55 here. So as you can see, just segmenting the fans based on spending behavior, and then targeting them based on their spend and giving them appropriate pricing based on what they spend. Now, if you have a low spender and they keep on spending more and more and more, they'll become a medium spender. They'll get auto pushed into that category. And then from there, we're pushing them up further. And then they go into the high spenders, we're pushing them up further. And then once they're a high spender, there's much bigger upsell opportunities beyond pay-per-view mass messages or just in general sexting set messages. Like you can charge $200 for a piece of content and just send it over to them. And you can also charge customs and all this, but that's where tipping comes in revenue in shop. So tip earnings percentage. So a 10% tip rate is considered good within the industry. Okay. So anywhere from 5 to 10%, I would say is relatively decent. If you're below 5%, you have a lot of room for improvement. If you're at 10%, great, perfect. You're doing well in terms of the tipping side. So tip rate can be considered a reflection of the emotional buy-in of fans. So you can look at this number as a direct correlation between how good you are at bringing out emotions with your subscribers. So if you've got a really low tip rate, then it just means that their emotional buy-in just isn't there. And then the same vice versa. So with the increase in the emotional element of the chatting, of the experience inside the model's account, we can do a few things. So we have NLP supplementation. So NLP supplementation stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming Supplementation. Now, I took A-levels back in A-levels in psychology, and I didn't think it was going to be coming in handy because I didn't really want to be a psychologist or anything along those lines. But it turns out it is actually quite applicable to what I do nowadays. So it's essentially just understanding the human psyche, human psychology, and leveraging that in order to bring out more emotions in your fans so they got a more emotional buy-in, and their emotions is a direct correlation between how much money they're spending. So there's a few strategies. We cover this in depth inside of the program. So down the link below, there's a free community. You can join that, get some resources. Inside the program, we have all of this just covered super in depth for you guys. So there's a link to book in a call down below, and you can apply for the mentorship program. But essentially, NLP is stuff like personalized communication, using emotional language, such as "you're the best," "I'm lucky to have met you," "I wish I could have met you sooner," using storytelling when you're trying to sell content, using anticipation and exclusivity, creating an emotional spectrum, so love bombing them, giving them as much attention, admiration, affection as possible. And then as soon as they stop spending much money, you just kind of withdraw that, give them the cold shoulder, no longer respond to their messages as quickly. And then also reward once they've increased their financial investment. Go back to giving the same level of attention and admiration. So it just kind of reinforces the idea of, okay, I spend more money and I get this rewards. Distancing as well. So if you're there at every beck and call for each subscriber, they do eventually get bored of that. So you need to create a little bit of distance to realign themselves, the subscribers, in gaining more traction for the model. So it's just a thing with distancing. Creating a bit of distance can create feelings of arousal from the subscribers. You have open loops as well. So TV shows love this. They love open loops. So at the end of each episode, you will notice that they're using stuff like cliffhangers. And the reason they're using this is because it gets you thinking psychologically about, okay, so if they're using I'm curious what's going to happen in the next episode. I'm curious what's going to happen in the next season. So you come back for more. And it's why some people binge watch a lot of these TV shows, because they're using open loops. They need to find out what happens next. So you can use this like name, I have a question, and then they don't actually, and then you don't respond to the subscriber until the next day. So this basically just has the subscriber thinking in their mind, I wonder what the question they're going to ask me. And then as soon as it gets to the morning, they open up their OnlyFans account, they look at the messages, and they see whether they've got a response or what the question actually was, because humans crave certainty and they crave closure. So we can exploit this in order to get them thinking about the model more. And there's a thing, so the more you think about something, your brain is going to conflate that with love for that thing. So if the subscriber is thinking about the model a lot, in their mind, it's going to be the exact same as love. Thinking about something and loving something is the exact same thing in the human brain. So it's understanding this and using it to and using it to get more emotion out of them. And then you have so many more different things, insinuations, desires, and this is kind of just a synopsis of it again. There's so much more that you can be utilizing in order to be getting more emotion from your model subscribers. Now, we also have the renew/churn rate. So in the model account, it was below 70%. We want to get this up to 70% renew rate. So that means for every subscriber who joins, we only have like a 30% drop off, so a 30% churn rate. Now, there's a few things you can implement here. So you can implement some workflows. So you can have a workflow before someone expires where you send them a reminder. Maybe they just forgot to renew. You could then send a guilt trip, again, bringing some emotionality, saying stuff like, oh, I made this content. I put so much effort in creating content for you. We're meshing each other. I thought we had a genuine connection, but here you are just going off. You'll see big accounts like Sophie Rain using this tactic a lot. She'll be sending like voice messages, insinuating guilt trips. And then you have like offer discount hook as well. So if you send a reminder, you send a guilt trip, they still haven't gone ahead and turned their renew back on, then you can go ahead and give them an offer, give them a financial incentive saying, hey, I'll give you a 50% discount if you resubscribe right now, putting again some urgency and some scarcity there. And then after they expired, you can have a similar flow. So you send a reminder, you send a guilt trip, create FOMO, so create fear of missing out, saying, hey, I've created a brand new piece of content with X creator. I know you love this sort of content. You're going to miss out on this. It's only going to be on my main page. Stuff like this. I see lots of people just giving the same level of attention to expired fans. So with expired fans, you can send pay-per-view messages to them. You can blast them with pay-per-view messages. You also want to blast them with like guilt trips to kind of rehook them back in. But you don't want to be given the same level of attention. Otherwise, there's no incentive for them to be subscribed if they can message the model and speak to the model as before when they were subscribed. So creating an incentive. People do everything based off incentives. You woke up this morning because you had an incentive. You wanted to get this done. You had to go to work. You had to do this. You had to do that. So people do things based on incentives. And so it's about creating these incentives here for them to turn on their rebill and to resubscribe to the account. Again, something interesting is that implementing these workflows can give you a percentage boost in terms of renewal and churn rate. So we will boost this for the new model account that we've signed. But it's also a telltale sign of whether there's a fundamental issue with the account itself. So are the needs of the subscribers being met? If you have a really high renewal rate, a churn rate, then it means that their needs aren't being met there. They're being met elsewhere, maybe by another creator. So it's up to you to identify what is the need being fulfilled by the subscribers joining this model page, and is that need being fulfilled on this page here? And then also asking, is the content quality good? If the content quality is bad, it's repetitive, then again, they're just going to leave. So it's about having good content quality as well. And are we creating emotions, or is it just transactional? Are they joining us just saying, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this? Or is there actually some sort of emotional bond that's going to keep them around, that's being built? And then do they feel a sense of community, a sense of belonging in that account? Whether it feels like they're supporting the creator and they feel like they're getting some sort of fulfillment out of supporting the creator. You'll see, people donate to charities because they get a sense of, they get a feeling from it. They get a sense of, they get good feelings from it, and that's why they give to charity. If they didn't get good feelings from giving to charity, then they're not going to do it. And you can apply the same logic here. If they don't get good feelings as a result of spending in this account, then they're just going to leave. So it's about creating a sense of belonging in that account for them. And there's all sorts of ways you can do this. Some of them are a little bit more kind of dark, which I see some creators using, like a little bit more cult-like. But there's other ways you can do this without damaging the relationship between the model and the subscribers. So yeah, we're essentially going to implement this stuff here, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. Again, this is the surface level. If you're feeling like you're getting some value from this, then I can assure you there is so much more to learn, so many more cool systems, giving you the exact templates for how we train chatters on this, the exact pay-per-view structure, pay-per-view types, how to segment, how to do it effectively, how to train your chatters on neurolinguistic programming, how to implement effective tips such as tipping post goals, tipping mass message games, live streams, tip acknowledgement, so rewarding them for their tips. Exactly the exact scripts we use for these workflows, which we battle tested across a ton of model accounts to get the best performing data backed one. And there's just so much more to do. So yeah, if you got some value from this video, go ahead, hit up the like button. And if you generally enjoy this sort of content type of just kind of breaking behind the scenes of what I do, what I focus on with my OFM agency, then go ahead and comment down below and show your support. So yeah, again, all the links for further information, further training, further private mentorship is down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.